Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well. It's my pleasure to see you and meet you here again today during this second episode of practical teaching tips for for the teachers of English, especially those who are starting this profession for the first time. This is our first lesson dealing with our students, and of course teachers differ as far as the starting point is concerned. Some would jump to a certain to the lesson maybe that was included there and presented in the textbook horizons, or maybe if you are using Focus, but most of these textbooks are not presenting the English alphabet, for instance, as the starting point. But you as a teacher of English and me as a teacher of English, personally, I prefer to start with the English alphabet first. For so many reasons. First of all, because when you start with the English, with the ABCs, with the English alphabet, students would have a good impression, a good positive impression about learning, right? That's an anxiety about learning English, about this new language, is going to disappear because they know that with the ABC, that would be the beginning, right? And that will be something so easy for them to learn and keep pace with, right? So that's the reason why I personally opt for starting with the English alphabet as a beginning, as a starting point, of course. Well, there are some very important remarks and points that should be raised as far as the teaching the ABCs at the beginning is concerned. I usually start with what students already know about those alphabets, okay? I'll start with that similarity and those slight differences between the alphabet in French and the alphabet in English, okay? I may ask my student, do you know the English alphabet? Do you already know those alphabets, okay? Because I know that they already know something quite similar to the alphabet that we have in English, which is the French alphabet. Okay, so we raise that similarity between English alphabet and French alphabet. I ask them what are the aspects of similarity, okay? How French alphabet and the English alphabets are similar, okay? So you try to elicit this point that the English alphabet and the French alphabet are similar, right, in terms of the number of the English letters, of the letters or the alphabet that we have, and also similar in terms of the shape, right, the capital and the small letters and the way we actually write those letters in handwriting, okay? So that's a very important point. Try to draw on this notion of comparison, which is one of the 5 C's of English language learning and teaching. It's very important. Comparison is very important, okay? Try to draw on the linguistic system that students have already internalized. That, of course, will be a bridge to the new language, of course, which is English. It is not that different from what students have already learned as for the French alphabet. You start with the French alphabet, you listen to writing the French alphabet on the board, 4 letters, you give the chance to each one to take part and participate and so on. And when the alphabets are written on the board, right, in capital letters, you can give the chance to students, great, well, you already know how to pronounce these letters, okay? So can you pronounce them in French? You start with French first, and then you may, create some fun, having 2 students compete, right? 1, 2, 3, and then they start competing and pronouncing, reciting the French alphabet, and see who is going to be the winner, the first, to finish reciting the letters. That's very important. Of course, we raise also the point of differences or dissimilarity or a difference between English and French alphabet, which is that of pronunciation. Students would say that, right, there is a difference in terms of nutq, right? Nutq set pronunciation is different, okay? And here it's gonna be a bridge, okay, to move to the English pronunciation. So bear in mind that students who that you're about to teach might have heard about something might have learned something about English, right? Especially when it comes to English alphabet and so on. So you start together with the class, right? Discovering the pronunciation of each letter. You ask students, so in your opinion, how do you pronounce this letter in English? And then you start letter by letter until you come to Z, okay, from A to Z. You can make use, to me, I personally make use of the Arabic language in order to show how the letter is pronounced. We say A, right? I can, write it in Arabic that way, okay, to show them how the letter is pronounced, okay, because they are not familiar with the phonetic transcription, okay, and B, C, and so on and so forth till the end. And later on, I personally I tell my student that now we are going to learn these alphabets, great, in the form of a sign. I model my students, right? I let them listen to the sign, which is the ABC sign, a very simple, famous, and very popular ABC sign. It's very easy to learn and to learn by heart. I let my students listen to me sing in the song and explaining one or two expressions that are, included in the song, which is, now I know my ABCs, next time won't you sing with me, next time won't you sing with me, right? Just to introduce those two expressions for students to understand what they mean, right? You can just use your body language and gestures to make, those two expressions clear for them, right? You say, now I know, now. You say here, just like you behave like this, they would understand what they mean, right? And then you watch, you say now, right? They would say maintenant, right? With an N, right? And that's good. I know, right? Students would understand what it means, I know, right? Next time, and then until you explain those expressions. And then you let them listen to the sign, right, again. And then you give the chance to everyone after exposing to the sign twice or three times. Maybe without music or with music, right? It's going to be better with music later on, okay? After that, right? So later on, you give the chance to your student to learn. You say, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, then we start all together, singing all together, okay? 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D. Great, everyone is going to sing with you and everything is going to be fine, okay? Of course, with the help, with the letters pronunciation being transcribed using the Arabic language, that pronunciation, the task will be so easy for students to, to do, right, and perform well. After that, of course, I can play the music. Now we are going to do it together with the music, okay? And then you play the music and everyone's singing. Then you may give the chance right now to maybe who can volunteer and do it alone, or maybe two, right? And you might find one or two who can do it alone, right? You tell them that they have to learn this song by heart. Next time we're going to review it again, okay? And you can encourage them, okay? So these are some very important points as far as the pronunciation of the English alphabet. And then something very important within, the same session and in the same lesson, I also introduce the vowels and the consonants. I tell them that my students, how many letters do we have in English right now? Okay, so that's can be at the very beginning when we discover the similarity between English and French in terms of number and the shape or the way the handwriting. Now you go back again to the English alphabet. You say that we can distinguish between two categories of English alphabet. What are those two types of English alphabet? There are two groups. You may resort to Arabic language, to what they have already learned, right? حروف العلة, right? مجموعة في قولهم ماذا, right? They would say واي, right? هذه حروف ماذا? These are حروف مد, right? So you may resort to French to live what they have already learned, right? You can give the samples of letters, and then anyway, students would come up with the two categories, right? Les voyelles et les consonnes, right? The vowels and consonants. It's very important to teach this point at the very beginning, at this session, I say, because there are some lessons that would be based on this information, on this knowledge, prior knowledge, okay? Consonants and vowels. Later on, I'll finish with another important point related to English alphabet, which has to do with the speech sounds, especially voiced and voiceless sounds, okay? Now, you try to sensitize or raise student awareness on the difference between a letter and the sound, right? The sound of a letter, okay? The speech sound, right? They have to see the difference in terms of shape, the way the letter is written, as they have seen, right? B, C, D, and so on, and they are pronounced this way. However, the sound is usually the sound of a letter is put between two slashes, like القيمة المطلقة, right? You may see that in Arabic, so that they can understand and pronounce it this way, b, m, t, and so on and so forth, right? So that students make a distinction between a letter and then the sound of a letter, or a speech sound, okay? You present, right, the first category of sounds. You give some examples of sounds. Maybe 3 examples will be enough. Z, for instance, v, and then b. And then you let students, before you present the names, voiced and voiceless sounds, you let students do the experiment. Now, let's do an experiment. Put your fingers on the throat. Can you pronounce the first sound with me? V, right. The second sound right now. Z. How do you feel? Okay, students, of course, would feel something that some vibration, right? Students would say in Arabic, right? Za'za'ati, something like that, right? It will be, a moment for some fun and so on, right? And joy. And okay, so, and then you say now sounds, when those sounds that involve this vibration are called voice sound, right? Voice sound. You maybe ask them in order to check for their understanding, what do we call it in Arabic, right? They would say, or in ilm tajweed, they would say aswat jahriya, right? Good. And then later on, you say that these voice sound, right, have their equivalent opposite sound, right? Opposite equivalent. What do we mean here? It means that they have their opposite sounds. Of course, the opposites, okay, you ask them, what's the opposite for the voice sound, right? Now they know what voice sound is. What's the opposite? They would say samita or sirriya or something. All right, we call it in English voiceless. Now, your attention here, the sounds that we have here, you tell your student that these sounds, v, z, and so on, right, have, their equivalent voiceless sounds that come from the same, with the same positions of the speech organs, all right, without changing the position of speech organs. What do you think is the sound that is can be described as voiceless? Okay, students would come up, with the sound, with the target voiceless sound. For z, they would say s without changing the position of the speech organs. For v, they would say f. For p, b, they would say p, and so on and so forth, okay? So that's in general, some of the very important points to include as far as this, the content of this section related to the English alphabet. You have to learn the pronunciation of the English alphabet. They present that right in the form of a song again. They have to learn a song, an ABC song, to have some fun and so on, and learn the pronunciation easily. And they have to distinguish between consonants and vowels, and between voice and voiceless sound. That's the main important point of this session, in which they have to deal only with the English alphabet, consonants and vowels, voice and voiceless sound. You might end up again going back to the ABC sign again, okay, for students to rehearse and learn that sign by heart, okay? That will be the last point in this session, and see you next time, inshallah, with a new lesson and some good and some good suggestions and practical tips for successful lesson plan. Thank you very much, and see you next time.